his latest one was, I've called dispatch. Click on panel link right below you, Eric. Literally right below you. It says panel link. Suspicious, you there?
I hope so. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. Howdy.
Is that Eric?
How are you, bro?
So are you aware, Eric, that you were nominated as the leader of the movement?
Oh, I don't know that I'm willing to accept that. Yeah, no.
It sucks, Eve. It sucks, but it's true, man. You are that guy. You are.
I've been asking all day to take me to your leader, and Joe and Bird have mentioned you and you only. So hello, my name is El Sancho.
Hello, Sancho.
Pleasure to meet you.
If I'm going to be the leader, then I better start dressing the part.
Oh,
I thought you did, baby.
Wait a minute.
Leadership. That no
hell yeah.
Wait a minute.
Eric, this is the first opportunity that I've had to speak with you directly. There's been something that's been sticking in my mind for quite some time, and I want you to correct me if I am wrong in my recollection of a live stream you had. This was when you had to go in on your bicycle case, and you spoke about it, sitting down and coming up with some sort of infraction that they were going to allow you to plead to because the citation you received was a misdemeanor, correct?
On the bicycle case.
Yeah, you lost control of your bicycle. You received a ticket for it. Maybe ran into a car.
Oh, yeah. I ran into the back of a vehicle. Yeah, I went in there and we negotiated an appropriate charge and an appropriate plea. Yeah.
And the live stream after that all occurred, and you were on your way, and I think you went to a restaurant or something. I forgot who you were with. You were talking about how that case, if you had to have pled to that misdemeanor, it would have been bad.
Oh, well, yeah. First of all, the charge was inappropriate, and the plea that they wanted me, the charge that they charged me with, would have caused a failure of a felony diversion case.
Right.
Which at this point is a moot point because it's already failed. But and the charge was inappropriate. So we actually sat down with the prosecuting attorney and we spent quite a bit of time actually looking to find the appropriate charge. Because when I went in there, she said, this isn't the right charge. So, you know, this is one of the things that perhaps confuses people. I'm not against the criminal justice system. But that, and I should say the justice system, because really what was appropriate there was an infraction. It was not a criminal case. It was a civil case. It was an infraction case. And that's ultimately what I pled to. And we did work together to find the right charge. And that wasn't a situation. I just don't think it's appropriate to run from your consequences if they are truly coming to you. So, but the way that they had charged it was not right, and it would have had an inappropriate consequence.
Right, and it became my understanding later that it was going to affect that felony diversion.
Correct.
However, during that conversation, you had mentioned and that you had kind of had an epiphany that you had reached some sort of plateau, that you had so many open cases now, and any little thing could cause you to go to jail and or prison, and you were going to
goal. Yeah,
you were going to slow down. That was the gist of the conversation, that you felt it was time to take care of what you already had on your plate.
I felt that a long time ago, but unfortunately, because they're using my words against me, I can't answer that question right now.
Right. Okay. Okay. I understand.
I
wanted to make sure.
Janet literally whacked Abadi Irizarry with a shovel and threw my shit in a puddle on a live stream. The prosecution actually went to Janet this week and tried to convince her that she was in fear for her life and she should file charges against me. So that's how out of whack these people are. By the way, her response was, "I don't fucking talk to pigs." But
well, I just wanted to clarify.
I have to be really careful with that statement.
I've talked about that situation. I've talked about that live stream, and I just wanted to make sure I wasn't talking out of my ass. So I believe I had everything clear in my head on that. That was a while ago. I don't know how long ago that was.
Yeah, I'll tell you that my diversion officer kept very copious notes every time law enforcement called and contacted him, and it was constant. I mean, we're talking dozens and dozens of law enforcement from all over the country called him constantly to demand that they revoke my diversion, and it was absolutely their intentionally designed scheme. They used the major crimes division in both Denver and Lakewood to bring misdemeanor charges and petty offense charges. So yeah, it was their intentionally designed scheme to violate that diversion. So
malicious prosecution.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yes. Yeah, the quintessential malicious prosecution. They're trying to do it right now. I mean, this is not working out well for them that I'm out of custody, and I'm not running around with a fuck cop sign downtown, which makes me less of a target. So they're so desperate that they're literally trying to convince people like Janet that she's in fear for her life.
Can you, Eric, do an interview with me and talk about shit, but don't talk about shit?
I don't know if that's possible. I have to dance a very careful line right now.
We can dance. I'm a good dancer.
They literally actually are out to get me, right? I mean, I think that's pretty well established.
Are you saying, is he willing to talk about the case strictly?
No, I if he legally can't talk about something, but I want to know what makes this dude tick, to be blunt. I really do.
Well, would you figure that out if you'd be so kind as to let me know?
I didn't hear you want to know what, Sancho, what makes what?
I want to know what makes him tick in the whole leadership aspect, because I was very impressed by two of yous mentioning him without it. He wasn't an earshot. So Sancho Sundays is well known for doing in-depth interviews. And
don't forget, we also said, at least I know I said, he was the de facto leader, knowing that he wouldn't want to take that or claim that role, but he is that guy. You know, there's no two ways about it.
Who would you nominate, Eric, for that role, and why?
Who, if there are leaders in this community, who are they, and who's that number one cat?
For you and Desert, Eric, you first.
Well, I'm a liberal commie bastard, and I subscribe to the tenets of Occupy, which is a horizontal organization without a leader that accomplishes their goals by consensus, not necessarily by leadership. I'm also very well aware of the fact that where you have a leader, you have a RICO. So I'd prefer not to be the leader, frankly. Thank you very much. You can't have a gang if you're just one person.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, it's not fair. No, it's not fair. No, it's not fair.
Well,
you will acknowledge that
fair is why you would decline.
You mimic, that you model, that you admire,
there are leaders
but I'm
out
not
here,
willing to be a leader. Yeah.
No, no, you're not. But you do acknowledge that some people are more leadership positions than other out here.
I do.
Big Nick, Johnny Five.
Yeah.
Some cats, yes, are leaders, whether they like it or not, just by definition.
Joe, to be blunt with you, a reason why I'm a little hard on you is because I look at you as a leader in this community. And I think you need to, when you're looked at from that level, there's a little bit more expected of you, if that makes sense.
Oh, you know, I'm with Eric. You don't see it when you're that dude. You certainly don't see it. I get surprised. And I'm just now understanding. I'm just now seeing it doing these panels very lately. I think I'm just now understanding that my word means something. I need to clarify, like I do that black shit to tricking niggas. Yeah, because you white people, I'd love to say that to tricking niggas, man. I gotta be careful.
Well, so sometimes people need to be triggered too. See, that's the problem, is that I'm really not a black and white kind of guy. The world is very colorful to me, right? It's very gray, it's very blurry, and maybe that's why I'm such a consensus builder. But I mean, you would think that I'm just out of whack on stuff and just a hater with a big hard line, but I'm really actually not, right? And that's so if people find things of my work that they think are appropriate to model, then fine. But I don't think you guys understand how much of your work I model.
I would not. I would not. I wouldn't pitch you seeing more than 2 of my vids.
I mean, we all have our own style, but that doesn't mean that I don't. There are things about people. I really like people's work. I mean, you guys know me. I've always been the guy that's always sharing everybody's channel. Somebody's going live. They got a problem. I'm going live and say, you got to go to this channel. I'll cut out my audio just to force you to go to their channel. You know, so I recognize that people will listen. People do come. But it's my intention to deflect that off and let people have their own individuality, because you're not going to learn anything from those people if you're just paying attention to the jackass with the fake suit on.
No, but you know, it's really important though to have someone that can like bring definition to what it is. Like by definition earlier tonight, you kind of defined between auditors and examiners, and now I kind of realize like I'm more of an examiner. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm way more of a demonstrator. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I get in the cage with the monkeys and help them press the cocaine button. I just fuck shit up, right? I'm like, give that fucking button to me, motherfucker.
Right.
That's a very different
direct accent.
Yeah, I don't know that you can have a code of conduct for that kind of person. So,
what's the
that's
number
why
one?
Eric, I think Eric is the obvious choice, man, because I'm a fan of direct action. You must make them uncomfortable. Who am I gonna gravitate to? Who else, right? Who else? He's the king of making niggas uncomfortable.
Oh
Mr.
no,
Sentinel.
I'm not sure I'm the king. Man, you know, there's definitely more uncomfortable.
I mean, there was Elvis, but he's been gone a while, bro.
Huh?
I said there was Elvis, but he's been gone a while.
That's bad.
You know how they started. Some of us might be old enough to remember when they started calling Elvis the pelvis for his little dance moves. Yeah. Do you know how upset his mother was over that?
I remember that name. I don't.
My mom
was
was obsessed with Elvis, so I know a lot about Elvis because of my mom.
Do you know how angry his mother got over that?
Yes, that was like.
Well, you know his brother's name is Enos.
Yeah, that's
fuck.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
So let me ask you, like Desert, like take me to your leader. Like, who do you think's the leader in this movement? Take me to your leader and why.
Well, first you're going to have to define a movement. I mean, if we're talking about this YouTube as a genre community, then there really is no focus on leadership. One thing with leadership is it's going to bring attention, unwanted attention. I don't know if I made lists. I might have. And there's my experience, I've seen many, many, many people that identify within this community that are selfish and only interested in what they're doing and who they are. Now, some may know of other channels, other creators, other auditors, whatever you want to call it. And the one thing that I have found, and I have tested these waters, especially when there was like, I don't know, maybe 6 people that were incarcerated at the time. And I was asking the question, can anybody here name who is still being held in custody right now?
I cannot. I know
Dustin Kavanaugh.
Okay. So, I know
that Ian McGuire got out of jail.
I didn't know that.
Did Ian get out?
I heard that he did.
No, he's not out.
What about the guy that was missing legs? What was his name? Mittens. He didn't have any legs. He audited and had a fucking warrant on him.
Yeah. I know there's that one guy in New York, and I always forget his name. I believe he went into he went in. That was before I started kind of keeping track of these things. You know, swine repellent is still being held in custody.
Is he?
Yeah.
That would explain why he's not responding to any of my texts.
Yeah, it would do it.
He is actually on a psych hold.
Oh, he is.
From my understanding, yes.
Damn.
Do you think
you know Dragonfire? Hold on, Sancho. You know Dragonfire auditing, Chauncey.
Yes.
Okay, he's in federal custody.
Are you sure? He was just commenting on my channel the other day.
Was he?
Yeah,
Chauncey?
sure
I know
did.
too.
Dragonfire was on my channel just the other day.
I got paperwork that says he's still
I
being
wonder
held.
if it's too, I think Dragonfire South Carolina is the guy we're thinking about, Bird, and maybe us
Yeah.
too.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah,
And,
Chauncey.
anybody remember Boise PD Cop Watch?
No, I
know
do
that
not.
Okay.
I think the point that Desert's
Maybe.
making is once you're not here, dude, no one seems to give a fuck.
Oh,
That's a problem. That's a fucking problem.
So which leader is going to come forward that is, going to take under their wing all of these individuals and
no,
when they're
Well,
forgotten?
but let's look at it. So, like when Eric was in
I
jail,
believe that's you.
we were all watching. We were all fucking rooting for him, right? We were getting updates. We were getting live calls, online and hearing about the fucking catastrophes of no mask having and unsanitary conditions like I
Right.
experienced when I was in booking. And I mean,
And why was everybody focused on Eric?
because
That's a damn good
Eric
question.
is Eric.
Because-
Wait.
because
We
he was
started off
popular.
saying
Because he's
saying
popular.
that there is no conventional
Okay, so that's
leader.
what it is. It's about
There
the
is
popular.
no-
It's about the popular.
We
It's
started off
popularity.
saying there is no Malcolm X, there is no real leader, there is no
Yeah.
Martin Luther King like leader of blacks, there is no leader of whites, but there are people who are more popular and therefore by definition they're leaders. So I don't want to categorize Eric as one of those guys. Now it's up to him, and why ain't you grabbing niggas under your wing? I'm saying by being a role model as popular as he is and the words that come out of his mouth, he is by definition a leader.
Yeah, but not our leader, right? I mean, ultimately, he's not the head guy of any type of organization or gang or fucking RICO enacted fucking posse, right? So when you evaluate that, that this is the point I made to you earlier, Joe, is that we all have to take a position of leadership because this is all new, right?
I'm
Like this kind of
learning.
exposure is all new, so we have to be able to take that role. However, some of us have been able to take it to places that the rest of us have not. And I think that's why so many people look towards Eric is because of the 10th Circuit decision, because of the fact that he's willing to put it all on the line under principle.
That's it for me. A man who is unwilling to abandon anything cannot make change. When people be talking about, I can't believe that nigga living in his van, and I'll be thinking that nigga's a god. Leave him alone. Stay out of his affairs.
That's what I think. Yeah. By the way, I'm not living in my van. I'm actually living in a van that he earned by being drugged through the snow by his testicles. So I'm very appreciative, and I thank him very much for that.
What's your
I don't know
attitude
how
like?
much longer I'll be here, but yeah, leave people alone, right? Let people live. That, and I'm a very laissez-faire kind of guy too. But Desert Sentinel, you bring up a very disturbing point here. I think that we need somebody that has a more stable position and doesn't have the likely prospect of popping in and out of custody at any time to maybe periodically publish updates on these folks. And we need to do visitations, and we need to set up phone calls, and we need to write letters to all these people that are in custody. That was so important to me. It was really, really important to me. And I have, how many times, Joe, have you heard me say jail support, court support, court support? That's how we keep people alive and active and conscious, right?
Eric, there is a group that's keeping track of who's where and why.
Oh, good.
I fucking love how you're literally looking at everyone talking by the boxes. Like you're looking up, you're looking left. You're a fucking pro, my guy.
So I cheated. The camera's located right in the middle of my monitor.
Holy shit! Like NJ's talking, he's literally looking like NJ's in the attic when he's talking.
Yeah,
he's looking up,
right
he's literally like, go ahead, like that's crazy.
Hey, Sancho, I don't know which one is us is higher. I'm so high I hadn't even noticed, and you're so high you're noticing every fucking thing.
My guy, you were just brushing your hair for 5 minutes, okay? I was trying to
see it all from a bird's eye view, bro.
I was gonna text Liberty to text you because I don't have your text yet. To just give you a heads up, like my guy, you're brushing your fucking hair right now, my guy. So, do you, Eric, have that humble attitude, knowing that there's been multiple people that have been motivated and influenced by you? And if so, who are you kind of like proud of that has went under your wing that's out there right now, and why?
Oh, I hope he asking the question. I hope you can answer what I think he's asking. Name.
You know, I
ask is
hold
Otto
on.
because Otto's a mini Eric.
Time out. I kind of look at it like it's a coaching tree, like a Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells coaching tree. That Bill Parcells coaching tree had 5 or 6 really good head coaches. I look at an Eric Brandt as an Eric Brandt. There's a tree with him that he's training. He's training others and stuff.
Yes,
who are you proud of that has been under your wing, and why?
Nice question. Look at the front. The dad don't want to name one motherfucker.
Oh, that was a softball. That was a softball, Eric. The condoms aren't even on yet. That was a softball question.
You can't pick one of the kids.
I don't think that I'm gonna necessarily say that I'm proud of somebody. The person that I carry the greatest sadness for is Otto.
But who out there that you're watching that you've given advice to that you're proud of?
That you think, yes, he killed. Yes, I'm so glad that I got a chance to lay some advice on that cat.
Who are you proud of? Like, who are you proud of? Like, that's my guy. And you know what? I feel good that I played a part in helping that person do what he's doing right now. Who is that? There has to be a couple names.
Yes.
I don't know. I have to think of that. The person that I think about the most is Otto the Watchdog.
Yeah.
Ole, happy
he's such a great guy, and he's taken such a terrible hit, you know?
What just happened?
And he's got that's such a huge hit. It's such a huge risk. It's so egregious. I met so much hatred and so much anger out of the Watchdog situation. And Otto the Watchdog was influenced by me. And so I don't know if I'm willing to say that I'm proud of anything. I hurt for it. And that's the reality of this work. So
I feel that shit as well, Eric B. I feel that shit as well.
All right, Joe, throw me some names, because I know Liberty's influenced by you, and I know Joe Cool's influenced by you.
I would have put Liberty would have been besides Otto, because to me he's a mini Eric B, and I see it all over him. I talked to Blue about that shit. My God, he reminds me of Eric. So leaving Otto out, I would have said Liberty Freak. Oh my God, I'd fuck Liberty Freak.
Yeah, straight handing out fucking what was it? He was handing out fucking paperwork to all the fucking political representatives there at the fucking Capitol building, right? You guys catch that shit? Yeah. He's like, "You've been served." Big old fucking fuck you on the bold print. You know what I mean? Like, "You've been served." Fuck you. Oh, it was great.
But to me, the sacrifice that Otto has made, I don't have that kind of sacrifice to make. I could not make that kind of sacrifice. For me to stand up and do what I do is nothing. For him to have done what he did is so great. Is so great. I sacrificed nothing, and he sacrificed practically everything he had.
What are you proudest of the most in the work you've done? And if you could kind of throw us about 3 Hall of Fame moments that you're proud of the most. If there's an Eric Brandt Hall of Fame video, like three clips.
Eric, I missed all of your shit when Brian came out here. That was a year ago. I just started, and he was. I didn't know who he was. He was like, it was about 3 Brians. I couldn't keep up. And you was the only cat I knew, and I know little about. He was like, Eric Brandt. Yes, I heard of that one. So, you know what I'm saying?
You guys want to hear something really cool? So, here's a little quick story. I was doing this audit on a thing called NoCo Raid. Ran this huge press story around all the paperwork and bullshit behind these backdoor handshakes between departments. And when I was auditing this Windsor cop in Fort Collins, who I thought was out of jurisdiction, unaware that he was part of this task force.
I remember that audit.
Yeah, so I walk over to the Verizon store right after, and there's these two girls sitting down, and the one girl looks at me and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I was just observing and cop watching and making sure that this guy wasn't acting outside of his duties since he was out of jurisdiction." And then she says, "Do you know Eric Brandt? I work for a law firm. No, I work for as an assistant at the law firm, blah, blah, blah." And she had said that to me. And I was just like, yes, I do know Eric Brandt. In fact, I have a video called Eric Brandt Saves the Liberty Bird. And she was like, "Oh, I'm going to go subscribe to your channel." And I'm like, score one, you know? So anyway, I just figured I'd share that. Like even people that see me cop watching wanted to know, dude, like, do you know Eric Brandt? Like, that's beautiful.
I kind of go into this, and I've been telling Joe this. I've been following the movement, but I've been going into this with a clean slate with everybody. And I'll be honest with you, what you've been doing for Liberty Bird and the amount of time you've been putting into helping him, good fucking job.
Well, I appreciate that. I've already told him that I kind of have to focus on some things. I got to get a bunch of stuff done before next week, but we gotta. I guess I make a lot of sacrifices. I miss out on a lot of litigation that I have that's good litigation because I don't put the time into it because other people need that more than I do, I think, a lot of times. I'm not really in this for the money, and without other people picking up and taking charge and doing their own thing, then all my work was for naught anyway. So I suppose that's kind of me. There's two different sides to me. When I'm on the show and I'm, boasting and I'm bragging and I'm fluffing my chest and showing my feathers, that's an important persona. But I really hesitate to accept any pride for really anything that I've done. There are things that I've done that I'm pleased about, that I'm happy went that way, but I'm not willing to accept. I'm not willing to give myself accolades, and that's a bit, between us. This is not the Eric Brandt show on the street. This is really a lot more real. Eric Brandt is. I'm really not a proud person. I do my work. I do what I think is important. And at the end of the day, I think that the people around me are more important than I am, and that together we make a pretty important thing. But I know that you're wanting probably a better answer, but I really just don't consider myself to be that accomplished.
No, I want you to be you, and that's what I appreciate. One big thing that I've been noticing with the Liberty Bird streams is a lot of sacrifice. You got the world on you have the world on you right now, and you're still, helping Liberty. You may or may not like to hear this, but sacrifice is a big trait of being a leader.
Eric, there's one thing that I have enjoyed, especially with this COVID business going on, is and being able to sit in on those court cases with you.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. Yeah, I'm really, really pleased with being able to broadcast these court hearings and for people to participate in remotely. I hope that is a legacy that we don't lose as we move forward. I think that's really important. Probably the most significant thing that has happened to our country in a very long time was the ability to open these courts up a little bit.
Yeah, yes, and listening to you, I do learn. I like listening.
Well, I hope we all learn from each other. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing I can say. Unfortunately, you're in there and you are having to defend yourself. However, it is fascinating and an educational experience to listen in.
I personally think it shows how flawed the system really is. I think it shows the corrupt levels of enforcing opinion and unjust laws to support those opinions, to oppress those that disagree with your position. And that to me is more disheartening for the future of America than anything.
Well, I was listening into a court case the other day, but I believe it was Janet's, correct, Eric?
If that was Monday, then yeah.
And I was listening to that judge, and one of the cases came up where a woman was trying to get out of her probation or something early. And it was because she was in fear of her child's father, who had already taken the children once and she got them back, and she needed to relocate. And that judge listened to what the woman had to say.
Was that the
And
female judge?
yes.
When we were in the, yeah, I really have a lot of respect for that judge. Go ahead.
And she basically canceled everything. She didn't need to come into the court anymore. She was free to go. Everything was done. And there is some justice in the system there.
Yeah, I have to tell you that I've known Fran Simone for a long time. She was a magistrate in family court in Adams County for many years. And then just 2 years ago, she was appointed as a full-fledged judge in Denver. I have to tell you, I have never in my life seen a person that could read a person like she can. She can see into your soul. I have seen her identify the roles of differing people in a family structure, even in a particular family where their roles were not along a typical gender lines. I mean, they had different familiar roles, and she knew it. She could feel it without them even saying it. Fran Simone is one of my favorite judges. I think that she's gonna do wonderful things. I've seen her do wonderful things already. That did not surprise me coming out of Fran Simone. Unfortunately, it does surprise me coming out of the court system generally. We don't always see that kind of empathy and that kind of she just has this genius about seeing people's souls. I don't even have the word for it. But yeah, it's nice to see a system working well. Yeah.
I just jumped in there. I just jumped in there, Liberty, because I hate to see that huge, wide, broad brush like that when we can find a gem within the system and give credit where credit's due. I think everybody should.
How concerned, Eric, are you of your health with everything that goes on?
Mm.
Maybe not as concerned as I should be. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'd hate to make some predictions online, knowing that the alphabet soup is watching, but I'd say that I honestly don't necessarily expect that I'm going to make it that much longer. I think that if shit gets wonky in this country, they'll assassinate my ass pretty quick. So, and if I end up stuck in prison for the rest of my life, the last thing I want to do is spend it alive, right? Who wants to do that? So,
do you think you're a martyr for this movement?
I think that people would tell you that I'm a martyr for this movement.
Do you think you're a martyr for this movement, and do you want to be a martyr for this movement?
I don't want to be a martyr for this movement. Do I think I'm a martyr? I think that I mean, when you put a person when you imprison a person for speech, that person is a living martyr. There's no question about that.
By definition, yes, you're a martyr.
I think by definition, yeah. But no, I would rather live my life than to be a martyr. But as long as there are the watchdogs out there that can't speak up because they will destroy their family, then I suppose that I have no choice but to accept my lot in life.
Have you ever thought about quitting this fight?
Oh, yeah.
What brings you back into it?
Usually you guys.
What's the number one, the misconception about Eric Brandt?
I don't know.
What's the one thing that's out there that's a misconception of you?
That he is, I'm sorry, but he hesitated, that he is wild and off the rails and out of control, bad guy just out to provoke. You know, these are the things he's accused of, and that nigga's smarter than you are.
I don't see that.
I think the biggest misconception is more from the judge and DA's perspective, and that's that Eric Brandt's a criminal. That's the true misconception. Eric Brandt is not a criminal. Eric Brandt is a man that stands on the Constitution, stands on his ability to use his words to fight against those that use the force of a government gun to enforce the rules and regulations on the open public and citizen slaves.
You think your number one misconception is, Eric?
Well, the prosecutor in my last trial turned to my jurors, looked at me with red fire in his face, and pointed his finger and screamed, "Mr. Brandt is a despicable man." I think Joe Cool hit that on the head. That's the image that they want to portray, and I just don't think that that's true.
Is there a 5-year plan right now?
There's not even a 5-week plan at this point.
What resolution do you think there is out there, if any?
I'd hesitate to be able to discuss that at this point. There are some prospects. There is a prospect that I could potentially enter into a veterans diversion program, where the VA has said that with my disability level, they have rehabilitation money available, and they have offered and suggested that I could go to law school for that. I would bite a pretty heavy bullet to be able to follow that carrot, but it would appear that the prosecution is just not interested in negotiating that.
What fears do you have right now, if any?
Spending the rest of my life in prison, and that it'd be a long time.
Do you have any regrets?
Sure, of course I have regrets.
Do you have any you want to mention?
In a normal world, I wouldn't have any difficulty discussing my regrets, but unfortunately, I'm a targeted individual, and I'm not living in a normal world.
What's the number one advice Eric Brandt today would give to the young Eric Brandt who just started in this movement?
Do your research and build relationships.
Is that
Eric, that scares me every time you talk about do your research and they kick your ass as much research as you do? It kind of is disheartening. Make me think that what chance do we have?
You have a better chance if you do your research.
That's for damn sure.
I mean, that's one thing that many of us on, as some people would say, the other side of this is doing the research. However, when that research is presented to people for free, for nothing, that the research has been done for them, it's dispelled as myth, or that it's coming from a troll, or it's people have their own ideological stance on certain things.
Yes.
I mean, when you do your research, it keeps you out of a cage. And for many of us, like myself, that has discussed the fact that there are things that people do over and over again. And I believe I reported on these things for quite some time, where people were being arrested week after week after week for the same mistakes every time. So yes, you need to do your research, and you need to understand how it works. I don't think I've never known Eric to fall into the category of not understanding the law for what it actually is and how it works. However, others out there seem to, balk at certain aspects of how our law works.
I suppose actually, if you're going to touch on that, I think, and I want to do this with my actual face, because I think it's that important. There was some comment about, people aren't going to take the research for free because it could be from trolls or something. Actually, I think that's a very important thing to do. When I say do your research, I am very much a source document kind of guy. I like to see the source document. I try to go to the root of the document. I'm not a sovereign citizen. I'm not going to use sovereign citizen speak in a courtroom. That's code word for fuck with this guy. there are a lot of good people, good people that I know that have gone to prison for the rest of their lives because they used the wrong incantations. If you're going to stand over this cauldron and you're going to cast these spells, you need to cast the right spells. You need to speak the right language. And so I've seen there's a lot of infiltrators. There's a lot of trolls, if you will. I have seen a lot of people come in and say, "Oh, you can use this work here," and then so people write it down and they cite this and they file these motions, and it turns out that person was actually a member of the alphabet soup that was sent in to deliberately disrupt. And when they use those incantations, those are the incantations that the judges know are the magic incantations for fuck you, right? So if you're going to assert your jurisdiction, if you're going to talk about this fucking stupid gold fringed flag like it actually means something when it actually doesn't, if you're going to cite somebody's case law, if you're going to cite somebody's work and you're not going to go back and do the source referencing yourself, to the best of your ability, we can never actually source reference everything, but you need to put reasonable effort into that, because the problem that I have is that a lot of these that I did, the reason why I didn't go to prison with the paper terrorists is because I wouldn't sign any documents. And I wouldn't sign any documents because I didn't fully subscribe to what they were doing. I had a lot of reservations about it. And a lot of my reservations came from this citations of case law that was in fact bogus. And it's funny because Liberty Bird and I talked about this morning, as a matter of fact. If you're going to use their system, then you need to use their spells. You're going to stand at their cauldron. You need to wear their hat. You need to ride their broom. And you need to find out if the quotations you're getting are correct. It's astonishing to me how many times people cite a case and the case may not even actually exist. Or the case might exist in name, but it has nothing to do with the citation that's being given. And I've seen a lot of people go down like that. So when I say do your research, I mean actually go do it. The resources are there, but there isn't any free research. There's no free information. So yeah, you should look at that information as a launch pad, but you need to go do deeper, in-depth work on your own if you actually care about your condition. And it's not easy to get it all right, and I don't get it right all the time. I know a lot more about the law than most law enforcement, but
shit, so do I.
I still spent a little bit of time in jail. You got to do the research. You've got to do the research. You've got to do the research, and you can't just take somebody's word for it.
Yeah, Eric, we're in total agreement in the line of thinking that you are at right now. I didn't want to say that there's this free research out there and everybody should use it, but there is good research out there as a stepping stone for people to use, but it is continually dismissed because of the person giving that information out.
I wouldn't even consider that. I watch fucking crazy Fox News and CNN and MS, and I be thinking these cats are insane. This is the craziest shit ever. But I do what Eric said. I go. There'll be like a report came out, a story came out. I'll go look for the story, read it myself, or I'll go look for the citation, read it myself.
In Colorado, when the medical marijuana and the recreational marijuana started really kicking up, and people wanted to really get more pure and precise with their marijuana, which they did. But people are getting these 11-band, 24-band LED lights and blah blah. And I'm like, well, my buddy wanted to grow marijuana. I'm like, well, what does the light do? What frequencies are appropriate? So you can learn how to grow marijuana from I Get So High magazine if you actually don't want to grow marijuana. If you want to grow marijuana and you want to use LEDs, then the people that know how to grow cannabis is the United States Department of Agriculture, and the people that know how to grow plants with LEDs is NASA. So you got to go look at the source documents. You got to look at the peer-reviewed papers, and you can learn that, actually maybe 6 bands is probably appropriate, because you learn what the different colors do for the plant. That when I say source document research, I mean like literally don't read I Get So High magazine. go get the peer-reviewed work, go get the scholarly work and read it. For one thing, you may be going down a rabbit hole that has nothing to do or is only tangentially appropriate for the question that you're asking, but you're going to find that it's going to totally enrich your life anyway, and you're going to learn how to read and understand documents. So yeah, I'm trying to do a little bit more of that, now, like with this ketamine thing. I'm trying to show people, hey, these resources are publicly available. Wikipedia is a great launch pad. I don't believe everything I read on Wikipedia, but it's a good launch pad. It's something that's readily available. It's not free. It takes your time. You have to invest in it.
I did want to ask about what is your highest thing of it? Have you went to college? Do you have a degree?
I have. So a lot of my Navy education is classified. And so the American College, ACE, whatever that stands for.
American College Education?
Maybe. I don't remember what the exact acronym is, but they have an arrangement with the United States military, and they've been able to take certain of their trainings and courses and those that are declassifiable, any of those portions that are declassified, and they have accredited them. Maybe it's the American Council on Education.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
So I have a transcript from the military that combined with some other classes. I have what would be the equivalence of a bachelor's degree in nuclear technology. But I do not have a degree that I can put on the wall.
So I'm going to ask everyone else besides you this question. What can be done to support and help Eric during this difficult time? Like Desert, you first, Liberty, and then Joe.
What to help Eric
Mm-hmm.
during this time? I don't know. I think we're doing a little bit of it right now. We're getting an understanding between each other. I mean, Eric and I had talked a couple of times before through a mutual friend, and I have followed Eric like I have followed many people, and just keeping tabs on people and making sure where they're at.
Can be done for everybody hearing this right now to help Eric.
Get him laid.
Right on. Balance, baby. You gotta have that balance of life. That's a good word.
Listen, here's the truth. When I first met dude, I was in his chat and I was very fucking new, keeping my mouth type shit. And you know what they were doing? They were making phone calls. And I got moved and I made a phone call. And like 3 people in there said, that's good. I forget the word they said. Good. What activism, Joe, something like that. And I remember how it felt. So he's kind of known for that phone call shit. We were going to help him press that shit. And I would say we'd have to press it beyond him because he's quiet with that shit. He gets motivated and he's like, we got to call here, we got to call there. But I'd say we had to take it a step farther and live in his example and pick our own people to call, push our own people to call.
Yeah.
Joe, you're selling edification. Edification is what I try to say, and I'm buying into it, man. I'm sold out to edification.
I want to tell you a little bit about how important phone calls are. First of all, I think Liberty Bird can speak to how important phone calls are from his recent experience last week. That wouldn't have played out like that without those phone calls. You knew when you were in there, you knew when the phone calls were happening. Right? Because they changed how they dealt with you. And then finally, they couldn't take it anymore. And they brought you to a telephone to call out.
Yeah, they bribed the shit out of me just to comply with the get the fuck out of here, dude. They're like, we want you gone. And I'm like, I want to go home now.
About a little more than a year ago, I suppose, Otto was stuck in jail. And we hadn't seen anything from Otto for like a week and a half. For like a week, I think it was. And so I started calling around. Otto was pretty new to the scene. And I got a hold of James Freeman because I knew that he was kind of in that area. And I said, hey, I don't know where Otto is. We haven't seen anything from him. And so he did some checking and we found him in the Collin County Jail. And he'd been there already for like 10 days. And he said he knew when the world found out he was there. He knew it because the calls started coming, and the staff treated him differently when the calls started coming.
Wow.
I can tell you that the deputy that I was having issues with in Jefferson County, because remember that I have ears everywhere. You know, when he was fucking up and he was telling me you can file a grievance about it, I said, oh, I'll do more than that. My first step was run to the phone bank to call you guys. My second step was go file a grievance, right? First, I communicated, I knew you guys would have my back, and then I went and filed the paperwork. So I have been recently advised that he was removed from the program, and he's now working in booking where he can't have that much exposure to people and cause a lot of injury.
Activism 101. It's multi-tiered, multi-layered, and you explained it well.
Here's a quick story that you guys might enjoy. So I take off to New York with Joe Cool and Chuck Bronson. We make nice rounds out there, and we're on our way back. And we stop at this little fucking Texas Roadhouse joint, you know, that has barbecue or whatever. Remember this, Joe? And we find out that Otto the Watchdog gets arrested, dude. And all three of us lose our shit, right? And so what do? I get on the phone with the FBI. Right, and I'm like talking to the FBI, fucking chewing their ass out about how the fuck they could ever allow this to happen. Do we not live in America? And then I call down the Rockwall sheriff, and I'm like, "Is this not America?" And he's like, "Of course it is." And I'm like, "Well, then how the fuck does freedom of speech not exist?" And oh my goodness, man, the amount of the amount of suffering that those guys went through with the calls and the redress there, I can only imagine.
The next 80 miles, we swore to God we were being followed.
Yeah, you ain't lying, bud. Like, they definitely got my number. I know that much now. I called them with it.
Well, the calls are very effective. And so Marvella asks, is it true that call flooding does more harm than good? I don't see that it does more harm than good. I do see that it does a lot of good. You know, when I was in the Adams County Jail for the sidewalk chalk, the sheriff came and talked to me personally. He says, you know, it's actually faster for me to walk across the street to talk to somebody than to try and get a phone line in. They took very good care of me. They knew that I had people behind me. They knew when they screwed up that shit would be fucking ugly. And that was a degree of protection. And I tell you also that people that I was in jail with, they would say, oh God, this officer, you know, we'd get a different officer that night. Maybe our guy was on training, or maybe he was out with COVID. We had several of them that ended up being out with COVID quarantine. So we got deputies rotated in that weren't the normal deputies for that location, and people would be like, oh fuck this fucking asshole. Oh, the night went just incredibly smooth. I'd be on a pod and people would say, you know, it's very different while you're here. And I've communicated with people since I've left that have said things are not as good there. So yes, when you have somebody that has the attention of the outside world, when you have people calling to do welfare checks, I don't know how many I signed more than half a dozen medical record over to people. You know, I would get paperwork that would say yada yada empty squat parentheses mother. I had a lot of mothers, and I signed every fucking one of them because I knew that person was checking in on me, so that if I ended up in isolation, or if I ended up in the hospital, or you know, if I ended up in the hole or something, that you guys would know even if I couldn't call out. And they knew. All right. That the world would know. So I think that the calling is very effective.
Let me give my call story. When I got popped up, I gave hell because I wouldn't give my last name. When we were still in the station, they were like, just give us your last name. You're not under arrest. I yelled at them until I lost my fucking voice. But they got so mad at me. They were talking, we're going to put you in under John Doe in the county. You're going to be there for 4 days, blah, blah. I was like, have the call started coming yet? Because I got arrested live. And, by the time morning came, I was like, so what time I see the judge? They're like, oh no, don't worry, you're going home. There's no problem. You know, that was them calls. That was y'all.
And when Penny Lane and Monkai 83 got arrested out there in Bridgewater, it was the same thing. The lieutenant came down to them in the cells and had phone numbers because, I was saying, hey, he needs to call me. He needs legal representation. And so they were like, who are these people? And he goes, oh, you're going to get a lot more calls. And they absolutely got a lot more calls, right? And yeah, that happened in Elbert County. They processed us out as fast as they fucking could. They did not want us there. So, yes, the calls are effective. When Abity and I got arrested in Inglewood, we've got a single CD with 403 phone calls on it, and it's only in the first 2 hours of the arrest. And I was down there. I'm sitting there. In fact, I'll switch my camera back here.
Sancho, thanks for letting me up. I have to drop, guys. I don't mean to interrupt you, Eric. I love all you guys. I have to work early. Joe, Eric, Liberty Bird. I can't tell who else is there on the bottom corner. Thanks for letting me up, man.
Hey, come back tomorrow night for Liberty Bird Court.
That's Furry Potato in the bottom right corner. That's Furry Potato.
What?
Where?
You're talking about DS. He didn't know who it was.
Damn, you got me, asshole.
Who do you look up to, Eric, in this whole movement?
Very good. Who's cold at least? Who do you think is cold, if not look up to?
Who do I look up to? It would be hard for me to pick, I guess, one person.
How about that Johnny 5-0 nigga?
I definitely look up to Johnny 5-0. I think he's slick as hell. Gosh, there's some really good guys out there that are that just tickle my fancy. People that have a lot of risk involved, I look up to, and there's a few people that I know that you guys think you might know these people, and so I won't out them, but there's people out here that have a lot of risk. I look up to Chris Powers. Chris Powers has made a tremendous amount of personal investment, and it's not always worked out for him. And so, one of the things you guys were talking, I guess earlier, I heard some chatter. People were talking about people and e-begging and money and stuff. When I had bonds raised, and when I was getting arrested back in January, it was just arrest after arrest, and I'd be in jail, and then all of a sudden I'd be bonded out, and I wasn't even asking for it. It was just happening. And I was able to return all that money. And one of the things that was important to me, even though I had nothing to do with the fundraising, it was essential to me that I have a single point source. We actually physically wrote paper checks to people, including Chris Powers, who was one of those. And so then many months later, COVID happens, the protesting happens, and it's like, okay, now it's time. I've played this horse out as much as I can right now. It's time to get out. And so I went and I asked for help. And what you guys don't know is I spent about 2 weeks behind the scenes before you guys ever knew that I was asking to get out. And one of the things that I did, I approached Chris Powers. I did not approach him to ask for money. No, I approached him to ask for credibility, and I approached him to ask him to audit my paperwork. And I did that because he had such a personal sacrifice that he had made, and I didn't want to ask him for money. I knew that I was going to be asking people for money, and I didn't know how or where it would come from, but I did not want Chris Powers to be that one. And I was very, very pleased to find out that actually everybody had already been chattering about it and that I was able to gain that credibility. So I think that I really look up to Chris Powers. He's gone way out on a leap of faith at a great amount of personal sacrifice. I look up to High Desert Community Watch. High Desert Community Watch is 100% behind Felipe Fleming, and I'm 100% not Felipe Hemming. And when I went out to visit my dad, he drove lots of hours each time, several times to come pick me up. He wanted to show me California. He wanted to show me a good time. He wanted to be a good host. And the words Felipe Hemming never came out of his mouth. And he's really looked to as kind of a recruiter for him. Never made any attempts to recruit me. His interest was obviously purely genuine, and I have a lot of respect for that. So I don't know. There's a lot of people that I can tell you that I look up to, and
Does it one of my
Dude,
number one
Liberty
cats? He's the
Liberty
first cat.
was
That's
getting
who
it.
put me into this shit. Does it?
I mean, do you guys remember like the fundraisers while Eric was getting snapped back and pushed back and
I
then let
remember
out
about
and pushed
6 of
back?
them. I
Bro,
remember the late night stream where the
like
fan and Liberty Bird didn't go to sleep. And then the next day he got popped again. I remember doing. I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, this is
I know.
gonna be great."
dude, Liberty Freak handled business, dude. I was so
Yeah,
proud
he
of him,
did.
How
dude.
does that make
Yeah,
you
he did.
feel, Eric? How does that make you feel?
That felt pretty good, guys. It felt pretty good, and it felt good too that when I said stop doing it, that you did. You left me in the jail that I needed to stay. The jail I was safest in. They're just going to keep increasing the bonds and increasing the risk. And it's just, no, let's just stay where we're at. And I really do appreciate that. I look up to Marita Gladson. She sits there quietly and she sends me memes and letters every fucking day. Like when I didn't get letters from her, I got worried. I did welfare checks on her.
Wow.
I don't know that I could give you a list. I look up to Abbott Irizarry. He went out on a huge leap of faith. He got stuck here because of it. I look up to Kyle, Monkai 83. I even look up to Defend. Believe it or not, there's a lot of work that Defend does that I have a lot of admiration for, and.
Right.
But I suppose that's ever the consensus, Miller. Abbott gets so mad at me because I'm always finding the good in people. So
Oh, Eric, you hit on something. I catch that shit. That is my number one shit. You fence sitter. How dare you? Did you see what he did? Because I prefer to look for the good in people.
But it's healthy for someone to make a video just for him to see the educational side of how people are treating him, though. Do you think that, Eric?
Oh yeah. You benefited me greatly because I'm too lazy to go through these fucking streams and
There you
see
go.
that shit.
Oh, please. You're in every stream. It's every stream I go to. There's Joe Cool.
Yes,
I don't know how you do it. How do you
channel.
got that? You got like 6 devices or some shit.
I'm
And
on
you know what?
every-
I'm going to tell you somebody that I think is unfortunately an unsung hero. I'm gonna say that I look up to Beware Mouse, and I'm gonna tell you why I look up.
It was very challenging to top that, and I think we did good to match it. I really did. I think it was, like giving them that voice, giving them that platform to educate, entertain, even if they want, is essential. I'm gonna kind of pass the mic off to you, Mr. Brandt. Any final words? Anything else on your mind you want to get out there? And how can we help, if any way, to everybody watching this right now, besides prayers and all that stuff,
Well, I came into the stream late, so I think I missed most of your evening, and I appreciate you letting me chime in with my opinions on your code. I think the panel was pretty respectful. And honestly, I think that I've had a lot of respectful conversations with most people in this community, even people that you might consider to be my trolls. So I think that's kind of my legacy, is that actually I don't get trolled as heavily as some people. I don't seem to get doxxed as heavily as other people. And
yes.
like the most outrageous. So I appreciate that. I think you guys are all very gracious. You kind of put me on the spot. I'm a lot more humble than I think people think I am, and so that was maybe a little embarrassing tonight to do that. So I mean, thank you for that. I appreciate that. There's a lot of other people out there that need the support more than I do. So I appreciate the support, but don't forget about the other folks. We're all in this together. Seriously, all of us are in this together. And I'm not going to say right or wrong for anybody.
Is there anything, website, anything that people can do to show support?
Oh, no, they shut all that shit down. You support me by supporting the people closest to me, because they invest a lot in me. And I appreciate that. So there's still people around me that are allowed to receive support. You support them, you're supporting me.
I can go 7 to 8 hours, but I really don't want to steal anyone else's time anything more, because a couple of y'all want to take a nap and go to sleep. So
Yeah,
Or what
I've
I-
turned into a pumpkin a long time ago. So,
Open
so
door.
I want to just add, you made a comment earlier on that you weren't seeing an email with me subscribing to you. You need to go back a lot farther than tonight to see that subscription.
Oh, really?
Really?
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
I don't remember when I subscribed to you, but I know that it was a while long ago. So,
Well, I'm only a month old. I'm only a month and a half old.
and I must have subscribed when you first popped up.